So I just want to ask Bobby to speak for a little while. I'll stand aside. But I can only tell you, I've known him a long time. We've been a little bit on the opposite side of the equation, but I will say this, he is a brilliant, I still think of him as young. He's not that young. I always call him young, but he's not that young. But he is a phenomenal person, a phenomenal man who loves the people of this country as much as anybody can love the people of this country. So Bobby, please say a few words.
A few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Means, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA. Institutions, these regulatory agencies are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies that they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years on my campaign. And he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. And I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president, and we talked. We had a very good talk, and he invited me to come see him the next day, and I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida, and we talked not about the things that separate us, because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. And one of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic. Our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world. Don't you want healthy children? The chemicals out of our food. And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted. He also told me that he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy. Or $200 billion wars in Ukraine, that we could use that money back here. And the best way to build a safe America is to rebuild our industrial base and rebuild the middle class in this country. Get us out of the wars and who's going to He told me that he wanted to end the censorship because the whole basis of American democracy is the free flow of information. And we know that a government that can silence its opponents has license for any kind of atrocity. And can you think of any time that you can look back in history and say that the people who were censoring were the good guys? step down that slippery slope to totalitarianism. Don't you want a president who's going to protect America's freedoms? Against totalitarianism. And I want to ask you again, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease? That's going to make America healthy again.
Remember, we have sort of like a two-party system. It was designed that way, and it's awfully tough. And as well as he did, he'd be at 10 and 15 and 16 points sometimes. That's a lot. That's a lot. But if he were in a regular system, like as a Democrat or perhaps as a Republican, but not against me, of course. If he were in a regular system, there are a lot of people that maybe liked him the best. But they said we can't vote. So with all of those votes he was getting, he has a lot of votes that he could have gotten. I think he's going to have a huge influence. We're leading now, but I think he's going to have a huge influence